As you've probably seen nowadays, when you go to try to buy a new game, you're probably going to be met with a $60 price tag as a minimum and a 200 gigabyte download. And it's really also a roll of the dice if that game is going to have a battle pass in it as well or not. Thank you Fortnite on that one. But unfortunately, live service as a whole, like Xbox Live, PSN, all that type of stuff, is kind of down the gutter as well. But there really was kind of a time, once upon a time, where no matter what random game you would pick up, there would be a random community bustling, and it would be filled with hidden gems, a kind of forgotten era of sleeper picks and low-key masterpieces. And that's one of the reasons why you see a lot of people resorting back to older titles versus some of the new titles that are releasing and coming out nowadays. Call of Duty, for instance, has this going for it heavily. With the last Call of Duty I bought was Black Ops 6, and I knew the second that I bought it, honestly, before I even did, that I knew this was the last one I would ever get, even as a lifelong loyal Call of Duty fan since COD 4. And even to this day, I still do love some Call of Duty here or there, but that new stuff that they got going on is completely horseradish, let's just say. A whole bunch of people would much rather play like the older titles versus these new titles, which is why you've seen a resurgence and why they realizing that marketing a PlayStation port for Black Ops 1 and 2. Unfortunately, the progression in those games are completely broken, with Black Ops 1 not even saving progress and multiplayer and such, because Activision kind of completely moved on to its new titles and abandoned its gems. But that's kind of different story for another day there. But where was kind of the change? Takes me to one of like kind of the main reasons on how these newer games don't hit like they used to. A game back in the day got sold based off its fun factor. And once you have a series built into a kind of franchise such as Call of Duty, you're going to have the game kind of just build off of its profit versus it being fun and catering towards its audience. And also in the age of microtransactions, they figured out how much they could maximize their money with a smallest amount of effort possible, which is skins. Nowadays, when you spend $20 on a game, you could expect a skin, maybe a bundle if you're lucky. But back in the day, when you buy a whole DLC story or a world expansion when it comes to that $20 purchase, like take a game that released around that same time frame, like Grand Theft Auto 4, where each DLC would be around $15, but you would unlock two different 6-hour side stories, or Fallout New Vegas, $15 DLCs where you're going to get whole new areas to explore with its own lore, characters, and storyline. And the department of getting that best bang for your buck when it comes to paid content, I think really is going to be a thing of the past, unfortunately, thanks to the battle pass, buying skins, and kind of that sort of stuff there, and also paid mods as well, Bethesda. But of course, I do bring up like that business side of things in every video, but it does eat away at kind of the live service action, and it also does go a little bit deeper than that with kind of the social culture. Now, the social culture has been completely obliterated, and you've probably gone to a lobby recently and have just seen somebody talking, and the first thing you want to do is mute them when you see somebody talking in there. And usually, when you go into one of those lobbies, they're one of the only people in them talking, and they're talking to themselves, most likely. And you could tell they want a little bit more out of a social culture, but unfortunately, they're in a lobby full of dead mics themselves, and everybody who is like not mic'd up, they're low-key kind of cringing at them because they're trying too hard. It just don't work anymore. And I understand the notion, of course, hopping on the game, chatting up in a public lobby, but even as I was recording some of this footage, I ran into Exhibit A. Man probably came home from a long day at work, wanted to relate with people, but he didn't because nobody would reciprocate. So he would just start blowing into the mic and just being kind of a nuisance. Got really annoying, so I did have to mute him, but I can't lie. It was a solid 3 to 5 minutes where I actually felt some type of empathy for him. Now, back in 2011, you come into a lobby without a mic, and you're going to be the odd man out in that case, versus now where it's the other way around. And I remember even having to use my Xbox Connect because I wanted to have a mic with all the other people online when I was a little kid. But why isn't it like that anymore? Well, number one, of course, is persistent lobbies. Persistent lobbies are very rare in games nowadays, and with most games cycling the lobby every session, it's hard to form much of a connection or rapport in just a single game versus, you hop on Black Ops 2, be in the same lobby with a guy 3 times in a row and chat it up, and then all of a sudden they become your lifelong friend. Like, you don't run into people anymore that make lifelong friends online to the same extent that they were back in the day. Yeah, you can find some buddies, and yeah, you'll still run into stories where people do, but at the end of the day, these people are finding the best mans at their weddings, like true lifelong friendships and connections based off a 10-minute Halo match or something like that. Versus now, a lot of people, they don't even want to try getting onto the mic because they know it's a superficial experience. It's kind of like those single serving friends mentioned in the movie Fight Club.
Everywhere I travel, tiny life, single serving sugar, single serving cream, single pat of butter, the microwave cordon bleu hobby kit, shampoo conditioner combos, sample packaged mouthwash, tiny bars of soap. The people I meet on each flight, they're single serving friends. Between takeoff and landing, we have our time together, but that's all we get.
Back then was kind of like the Wild West when it came to live service, Xbox Live especially, online gameplay, that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's been around for quite a little bit of time at that point, but that was really where the peak of it was. And this extended past like Call of Duty, it went to any other title, Gears of War, Halo, even anything else outside of that, Avatar games, whatever it may be. Each game you found was a secret hidden gem and was like the Viking crossing the Atlantic. People like the term sleeper pick, but this was really an error where sleeper picks really was no matter where you look, left, right, and center, and they were bangers. Manifest Destiny, crossing to the other side of the continent. You felt like you were establishing and exploring new territory with each game you were playing. And I remember when I was a kid, I would watch my dad play Call of Duty from a distance with his mic on the game, just talking to whoever other people on the game. During that summer, he would go on the game multiple times a week, not having like a single person that he's going back to, but just going on to see who he's going to randomly chat it up with. It's just kind of like the curiosity that comes with it. Like, man was genuinely just curious to just go on and chop it up on the game. Versus now, you're probably on the same game all day long, if not cycling between the same 5 games. And the communities on them are all either trash or very exclusive. You used to be curious about games and community, and now you just like what you like and stick to it, and then say like, hey, gaming's kind of dead. But even still, the games that you do go back to are also kind of stuck in like a ghost town. Party chats, discords, they're all hanging out in there versus, hanging out in game chat. Game chat is going to be a complete ghost town versus back in the day when it was the Wild West adventuring the unknown with other adventurers. Now there are no other adventures. You're kicking it dolo, it kind of feels like. And let's face it, people would much rather be in a party chat than in a chat with just some random people they don't care about. That's kind of just reality, unfortunately. And especially when it comes to competitive culture, instead of companionship that you would see in the past, you're seeing more negativity. Now, don't get me started. When I was a kid, I was a squeaker, in the lobby. So I don't say that being soft because I seen the negativity back then as well. But I'm talking about now, like you're seeing more resentment. Now, when you see someone pop off on a game, you call them a tryhard, a sweat. But back in the day, you're adding them as a friend. And then you're hanging out with them. You're like, man, you really beat my ass. You kind of joke about it after the fact and make like an actual connection with them. But now it's just, you're not doing that. Before you find someone, even if they were a little bit annoying, you still added them as a friend because, hey, they were still kind of funny. They were still kind of an experience I'd like to come back to one day. Versus now, like I said, people are a little bit more Hollywood, a little bit more careful with who they add as friends. Personally, myself, I do it as well. I only have my people I know in real life as friends, and I kind of might go back to resorting to that because I used to have 500 strangers added to my account. Now I just have like a solid 150 that only like 5 of them are online at a time. And in the age of like internet privacy, like being private is 20 times more valuable than anything. And with so much information going online, you run into that wrong person, and that's your ass. But also, people are a little more antisocial, so they kind of reject it when they see it. Like I said, people cringing. Like I was cringing when that dude was online trying to make friends. I was kind of rejecting it. It would have been easy for me to pop the mic on and chop it up with bro. But we're all low-key a little more antisocial since COVID, which is of course another discussion for a future video. But unfortunately, I think these days the pasts are like the past of like kind of hopping around Call of Duty lobbies, innocently cursing and yelling at with the boys, like that's kind of at the end, especially with like these report features too. It was also been getting out of hand, which of course I understand. You need to like watch what you say, but dropping an F bomb now will get you offline for 2 weeks. And the way I remember it wasn't really just like a game. It was really like an age of adventurous people exploring the unknown together, making friendships as they did it. Versus today, you see people using video games as an escape from their terrible lives and then just getting smacked on by the tryhards who don't have jobs. Now, if you don't got a tight group, good luck trying to find any type of community that isn't strict or just weird. But let me know about like the gaming space, how it's evolved, the culture, the community now versus how it was back in 2011 and your experiences then with Xbox Live and PlayStation Plus at the time. Like I said myself, I was a squeaker, so I kind of had the worst of it, but I had some fun as well. You know, I had been in like a little quick scoping clan in Black Ops 2. But if you like this video, be sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. My dog is kind of looking at me a little bit funny, so I'm gonna go kind of walk her right now. But this is your creepy Uncle Lester signing out.